welcome to the Mechanical Engineering presentation. My name is Dr. Todd Swisinger. I'm the Undergraduate Director for Mechanical Engineering at Clemson University, and I want to thank you for considering Clemson University as one of your choices. We'd love to showcase the facilities and host you on campus, but our tours are on hold right now during these special times of COVID-19. And so to introduce you to Mechanical Engineering and Clemson University, we've asked our students to come in and record from their separate houses, from their kitchens, living rooms, and dining rooms until we can host you on campus. I hope you find the information valuable for your decision. Stay healthy and go Tigers.
Hey everyone, I'm David Favreau. I am a senior at Clemson University, and I'm gonna start off the presentation a little bit about mechanical engineering. But first off, we're gonna introduce ourselves. So as I said before, I'm a senior and I'm on the 5-year track to graduate because I went through the co-op program, which we'll talk about later on. And I've been involved with internships. I'm involved with Greek life. I'm involved with a few other clubs on campus. I've studied abroad. I'm getting a minor. So I've done a lot of different things here at Clemson, and just a lot of things have really made my Clemson experience unique. And next up is Morgan.
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Morgan Usher. I'm a sophomore from Greenville, South Carolina, mechanical engineering major, psychology minor. Some things I'm involved in on campus are my campus ministry group called the Navigators. I also play club volleyball, and I do tours for the Honors College. Some things that I've done through Clemson, but also outside of school, I studied abroad last summer in Rome, Italy, as well as my summer plans for this upcoming summer were supposed to be at Oak Ridge National Labs, but I'm looking at pushing that to the fall. Kayla?
Hey guys, I'm Kayla Bickham. I'm a junior from Rock Hill, South Carolina in mechanical engineering. I am involved in the Calhoun Honors College, and I'm going to be starting departmental honors in the fall, which means I'm going to start research with a professor. Outside of class stuff, I'm the president of the Presbyterian Student Association, as well as a member of a couple of professional organizations. And last summer, I did an internship with NASA in Virginia. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. The building you see on your screen right now is Floor Daniel. So that's where your professors are going to have all of their offices as well as their labs, and that's where a lot of the grad student stuff is housed with their labs. You'll have most of your classes in a building called Dillard. So getting into what we're going to talk about in this presentation, we're going to talk about the careers that are possible with mechanical engineering, as well as the services that Clemson offers to help you get those jobs. We also talk about the work experience opportunities that you can have as an undergraduate, as well as how the department prepares you for those careers. So classes, the different resources available to you, that kind of stuff. And also we're going to talk about our experiences with Clemson and kind of how you can tailor your degree and your experience to what you really want to do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and he's going to talk about the different careers of mechanical engineering.
So first off, before we talk about the careers, I'm sure you're wondering, what exactly is mechanical engineering? And mechanical engineering, as we generalize it, deals with the control of energy transfer. And energy is involved in everything, and specifically these industries that you can see on the side over there. And that's a great thing about mechanical engineering is that, as you probably realize, it's a pretty broad statement we have there, meaning that the ME degree is a very broad degree, allowing you to go into multiple different fields. So that way you don't need to feel too pressured coming in as a sophomore, believing that, oh my gosh, I need to have my entire life charted out right now. You know, you have your sophomore, you have your junior, you even have your senior year to figure out what you like in mechanical engineering through various different things you can get involved with, as we'll discuss later. And it's the way to find out what you want to do. And these are just a few samplings, a few of what you can get involved with once you leave Clemson with your degree. And I'll pass it along to Morgan to talk more about career service and how it can help you out.
Yeah, so we're pretty proud of our Career Center here at Clemson. We have been ranked #1 the past 3 times out of the past 4 years. So pretty big deal to have such a high honor. But some things that our Career Center has done for us, they offer a lot of workshops, getting you ready for interviews. They offer mock interviews, so you send in like what company you're interviewing for, and they can tailor it to that and get you ready for that interview, as well as resume writing. So coming in, I had no clue how to write a resume, what was supposed to be on it, how to phrase it, what it should look like even. And so they really help you through every step of that process. And as well, we have a career fair that is hosted through the Career Center. But we have one each semester, which Kayla will talk about a little bit more later on. But we have over 330 companies come. And so I'm going to pass it off to David to talk a little bit more about our co-op and internship programs.
Now, Clemson excels in a lot of different things, but the one area that I believe Clemson truly shines, as Morgan said before, is our co-op program and our internship program. Now, first off, the internship program, as everyone knows, is generally, you spend a summer with a company, you kind of get an idea what they do, and then every next summer you get an internship with a different company. And a lot of students get involved with this. Quarter to half of our students get involved in internship and a co-op. And one of the most important rates to consider for some people is that all these are paid, and at least half of them make, $18 an hour, which is pretty impressive. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about co-op because that's a program I went into. So my sophomore year, got introduced to the co-op program, went through the Career Center, got an advisor, they destroyed my resume. We made a better one after that. And we talked about different companies, and then they brought in, 150 companies. And out of all the mechanical engineers went through the process, about 90 ended up receiving an offer. And to this day, got an offer, started working, and I've really enjoyed seeing, how things transfer from my class to my real world experience. And for those who are wondering, I've co-opted Electrolux out here in Anderson, South Carolina. So if you have a fridge in your house made by Frigidaire, I probably had a hand in it. And I've really learned a lot out there to really transfer my classes. And Kayla will talk a bit more about some of the other industry partners and people where they've gone.
Yeah, so as you can see from this slide, these are all graphics from companies that students have either interned with, co-opted with, or companies that have worked on senior design with students. And we'll talk a little bit more about what senior design means later. But just for now, you can see that our mechanical engineers are represented across every field and all across the country, and they're really highly in demand. Like Morgan said, our career fair is a really big deal every semester, and we don't have to recruit companies to come. These companies ask to be in our career fair because they really want Clemson mechanical engineers. We're very highly marketable, and we have a lot of skills that these companies really want. So that career fair, like Morgan said, is held every semester. This past year, we had over 330 companies, and it was spread out over 2 days, and that's just for the College of Engineering. So it's in the basketball arena, and it's a really great opportunity to make connections. Even if you're not looking for an opportunity right then, hand out your resume, get some experience and practice networking, and it's a really great resource for you, whether you're looking for an internship or a job. So next, I'm going to pass it off to Morgan, and she's going to talk a little bit about the curriculum.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a brief overview on the MECI curriculum before we go into it a little bit more in depth. Mechanical engineering is one of the largest majors on campus. We have about 1,100 students as of spring 2018, and obviously Clemson is growing, and so are we. So what that means is that we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of resources to help you through your undergrad career. One of those resources is 4 full-time academic advisors just for mechanical engineering. So they offer hours to come in and get advice on where you want to go class-wise, all of that sort of thing. We also offer flexible scheduling. So say you do decide to co-op like David did, your classes will be a little bit offset. You will be gone one rotation working, and then you'll come back and have to pick up your classes. So we offer multiple sections, and classes are offered every semester, including summer semesters, so that you won't fall behind and catch up on some of those classes. Another aspect is we like to round out our engineering curriculum. So that looks like taking intro classes in material science and electrical engineering, as well as other courses like heat transfer fluids and machine design, to really give you that whole breadth of what mechanical engineering can offer, and kind of see, like, dip your toes into things that you might want to take further, as well as the depth of topics. So we have a really diverse set of technical electives, which we will talk about later on. But those are a great way to make your degree your own and go an avenue that you want to go. And so I'm going to send it off to Kayla to talk about your freshman and sophomore year curriculums.
So, as you know, your freshman year, you'll start off in general engineering, which this is a really great experience if you aren't sure which branch of engineering that you want to go into. So everyone is taking those same general engineering classes, those really foundational classes, your maths, your sciences, that apply across every engineering field. You'll take your general education requirements, so your Englishes, your social sciences. All of these classes help to make you a really well-rounded student. That always makes you more marketable to employers. It's not about what you know, it's about how you can communicate it, so the English side of it as well. Your sophomore year, you'll start in mechanical engineering, and your sophomore year is a really great opportunity for you to take some time and figure out if your study habits are well suited to mechanical engineering. Clemson does a really great job of slowly stepping you into that. You're not just thrown in over your head with no resources. And we'll talk a lot more later about those resources that are available to you. You'll also take your first mechanical engineering lab your sophomore year. And the way Clemson does it, instead of having a lab for every single class that you're taking, you have one lab per year, and it has a component from every class that you've taken that year, which is a really great way to see the things in practice that you've seen in the classroom and get a hands-on approach to it. You're also going to take a lot of your foundation courses your sophomore year. These are courses whose material is going to come up over and over again your next 2 years. You also round out your engineering, which is a really great way to get exposed to things like electrical engineering and material science that mechanical engineers also have a hand in. So your sophomore year is really just setting the stage for the rest of your curriculum. And I'm going to turn it over to David to talk about what you're going to see your junior and senior years.
So as Kayla said, sophomore year, you'll learn a little about the fundamentals, whereas junior, you really kind of dive deep into your fundamental classes. You really learn the ins and outs of them. And it's definitely pretty interesting. And you also have your second lab. And I know for me, at least, in thermodynamics, we are learning about, air conditioning units and how to cool down a house. And then, I was so confused when I saw all those equations. There's lots of equations, lots of charts, and I was just kind of, fish out of water. And then, a week later in my lab, we started my air conditioning lab. And then all of a sudden, all these equations started to make a lot more sense to me when I was working on the air conditioning unit we had there. And it just goes to show how just your labs truly reinforce what you're learning in class, and they're not, completely useless. And you really do learn a lot and take away from the labs. And now your senior year is just kind of where some of the more fun and interesting stuff. So first off, you take your final ME lab. This is a lot more group-oriented compared to the more individual-oriented your sophomore and junior level labs. And to kind of tie into this, you go into your senior designs. And senior design is designed into 2 classes. Your first class is generally a pretty low stakes project where your professor kind of guides you through step by step, how to make the proper format, how to make the proper presentation, and all the important things and fundamental needs you need to work on a group project, because that's what it's like in the real world. You're not off on your own writing your own lab report, hidden in your room or in that one corner of the library. You're in a team setting, working together to come up with a solution. And it's kind of taking the next step in your 402 class, where now you're working with a different company, and you're supposed to solve a problem for them. I know one of my friends this semester, they were tasked with coming up with a project for quails. The quail facility, they didn't have any engineers there, so they looked at us, Clemson engineers, to solve a problem for them in the lab. So that's one way kind of, it ties students and organizations together to kind of figure out, how it is in careers. And another way to kind of spice up your, ME degrees, your technical electives, and this is a way to kind of add a little flavor to your degree. Maybe you like one thing more than another, so you can kind of tailor your class to that. And I'm going to let Kayla talk a little more of the technical electives and what they have to offer for you.
Yeah, so like David said, technical electives are a really great way to tailor your degree to what you're interested in. So your senior year, you'll have a little bit more flexibility, and you can pick from, this is just a small list, this isn't all of them, of the technical electives that we offer. So if you know, for example, that you're interested in aerospace, you can take Intro to Aerodynamics, Aircraft Conceptual Design, and Intro to Compressible Flow. Or if you're still not sure what area of mechanical engineering you want to go into, that's perfectly fine. You can choose 3 random ones or 3 that sound interesting to you and help you narrow down which field you may be interested in. Another really great thing that the mechanical engineering department lets you do is you can take one of your technical electives in another department. So for example, if you're interested in bioengineering, you can take a 4,000 level bioengineering class and count it towards your technical electives as long as you meet the prereqs for it. So that's a really great way to make your degree whatever you want it to be. I'm going to turn it over to Morgan to talk a little bit more about some opportunities Clemson offers outside of the classroom.
Yeah, so like Kayla said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what resources we have outside of the traditional classes in our curriculum. So one of those is a study abroad. We have a study abroad office here at Clemson, where they really work with you to send you abroad if that's something you really want. I know I was worried coming in. I was like, engineers can't study abroad. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, people were like scaring me with that fact. But I went to our study abroad office, and they gave me about 5 or 6 programs that would definitely fit into my mechanical engineering curriculum. As I mentioned earlier, I went abroad last summer to Rome, Italy, and I didn't take any mechanical engineering courses, but David has gone abroad. David, do you want to talk about your mechanical engineering experience abroad?
Yeah, so as Morgan said, Clemson University really excels in allowing study abroad opportunities for everyone, regardless of major. So I went in between my freshman and sophomore year. And one thing I really liked about that, this was an engineering-specific abroad program led by Clemson faculty. And I was over in Germany for about 6 to 8 weeks. And because of this, we were able to get a lot of industrial tours there that, otherwise I would never been able to see. Mercedes, BMW, because we have close ties, especially with BMW here at Clemson. We got to get some really behind-the-scenes activity there, and it really kind of helped fueled my spirit for engineering. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, so the study abroad office has tools for literally anything, everything, anywhere you want to go. Another aspect outside of the classroom are research opportunities. So here you can see the creative inquiries. Those are, we also call them CIs. Those are going to be semester-long courses where you're doing research with a professor. And those range from anything and everything, but those are really there to start getting you into undergraduate research if that's something you want to pursue in grad school or further in industry or further in your academic career. So that's something really unique that we have here at Clemson. as well as departmental honors, which Kayla also mentioned. But that is through our honors college, where you work with a professor your junior or senior year to complete a thesis and a project of your own. As for minors, I'm doing a psychology minor, and these are some of the common minors that we typically see with mechanical engineering. But really, if you have room in your schedule, or if you want to make room in your schedule, it's very possible to do a minor. As for senior year programs, the ones listed here are a couple of our off-campus programs. We have innovation campuses in both Greenville and Charleston, and they offer different programs for your senior year. For example, the advanced manufacturing program, they work closely with CU ICAR, that's our facility in Greenville. But they go on plant tours almost every week and really get their feet wet in the advanced manufacturing industry. So if any of these are avenues you want to go, those are all possibilities senior year, as well as the BS-MS program. So that is your, you get your Bachelor of Science in your 4 years here, and then take an extra year to get your master's in mechanical engineering. And so that reduces your master's degree by a full semester, or at least 5 months. Most masters would typically take about 2 years. But with this program, you can double dip your technical electives with your master's courses. And so that is a great opportunity we have to graduate in 5 years with a master's degree. I'm going to send it back to David to talk a little bit more about some of our resources.
Now, the ME degree is a difficult degree. It will really test you and your study habits and all this, but we don't just leave you out there, struggling, trying to swim. But we have a lot of different resources on campus, and in particular, the peer-assisted learning, PAL, as we call it, academic success center and tutoring, peer-wise tutoring, and instructor office hours, and if you live in Rise hours. These are all geared towards specifically helping you first learn how to study, and then two, how to study efficiently, and also ask questions. Especially instructor office hours, which are held every single week, generally in the Florida Daniel, as you saw on the first slide. Teachers really do like explaining problems to them. Go there with homework questions, study tips, and they will gladly help you out. A few other options on here, the Writing Center helps with writing, the Jansen Family Mentors. This is more of a community. Since we're such a large major, this is really to kind of foster the student-faculty relationships and upperclassmen to underclassmen relationships as well. As a senior, for me, I have some, information about being beneficial to Morgan since she's a sophomore and she still has a few more years to kind of figure things out. And then the student shop and the maker space, these are pretty unique. Not a lot of universities have these, and this is where you can go and make anything to your heart's content. The maker space contains, 3D printers and laser cutters and all sorts of stuff. And the ME student shop, this is where your drills, your lathes, and even like welding materials are there. So whatever you want, you can build it there. And this is, a great way to learn, how to find resources in the real world, because you're not going to be given, everything to figure out a problem. You're going to have to go to others to figure out how to, answer your problem. And so it's just kind of, a great way to kind of dive into that. And I'm going to pass it along to Kayla to talk a little bit more about some other clubs we have on campus.
Yeah, so Clemson has a lot of opportunities to get involved, and it's really, really easy to get involved. So every semester we have what we call Tiger Prowl, and in the fall, every club sets up in Death Valley in the football stadium, and you can go around and talk to them and put your name on their mailing list, and it's a really great way to get involved before classes even start in the fall. We have over 500 student clubs and organizations, and if there isn't something that you're interested in, you can start your own. All you need is about 3 friends and an advisor, and you can make a club about pretty much anything. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the engineering-specific clubs and organizations. So Baja Racing, Formula SAE, and Rocket Engineering, those are very product based. So they're working all semester, all year on building a product, whether that's a rocket or a vehicle. And then at the end of the year, they'll go off and race them or compete with other schools from across the world. And our teams have done very, very well historically. These clubs are also great because they give you a lot of skills that will be very valuable in the real world. So I have friends that have learned how to weld from being on the Baja team, and those are skills that make them very marketable. WISE and SWE are for minority groups, and specifically SWE and ASME, those are more networking clubs. So usually they'll bring in about one company a month, and that company will usually bring pizza or Chick-fil-A with them. And it's a really great way to hand out your resume and network a little bit, as well as find out some more information about companies, which is really valuable when you start looking for jobs, because you either have relationships with people already at the company, or you know which companies that you want to apply to, which is a really great resource to have. Now I'm going to turn it over to Morgan, and she's going to talk a little bit more about what makes Clemson itself so unique.
Kayla. Yeah, so like she said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Clemson experience. So we are a decent sized university. We have about 20,000 undergraduates, 5,000 graduates. So kind of big, kind of small. I like to describe it as when I walk to class, I see a lot of people that I do know, but also a lot of people that I don't know. And I've really loved that balance here at Clemson, feeling connected, but also feeling like it's big enough for me to branch out. We are a college town, so some people will say that there isn't much to do here, but they are wrong. We have a small but mighty downtown, as well as lake and mountains nearby. We also are very close to Greenville, Charlotte, and Atlanta, and not too far from Charleston. So if anyone wants a beach weekend or a weekend getaway to a concert or anything like that, we're very close to a lot of places that have those. As for the Clemson family, that's just something huge we love to emphasize, because it's so true. We really are a family here at Clemson, as cheesy as that sounds. But what that looks like is, I was sitting in an airport in Florida a couple years ago, and my dad went to Clemson, so he was wearing his Clemson ring. And the guy sitting next to him had his Clemson ring on as well, spotted my dad's, and just struck up a conversation. They were just talking about like their experience at Clemson, like why they loved it so much, and really it gave them like an immediate connection. And so that's something the Clemson family does. We build one another up, connect each other, and really grow together, which we'll all probably speak on a little bit later. As for campus involvement, Kayla really talked a lot about that. We do have over 500 clubs, literally anything and everything. We have a chocolate milk club even. So really, like anything your heart's desire, like we can make it happen, absolutely. Athletic tickets, so we're one of the only universities that still has free athletic tickets. So if that's something you really want to get involved in, like absolutely go for it. And then the Princeton Review has consistently ranked us top 10 for their students love these colleges. And all three of us can really attest to loving Clemson, and really loving how it's grown us. So I'm going to transition to some last thoughts from all of us about why we love Clemson and how it's grown us. So David, do you want to start off?
Yeah. So, as we kind of have gone through this presentation, we've really highlighted, a lot of different opportunities here, whether that being like for tutoring, office hours, research, clubs, like all these different opportunities just really tie into the Clemson experience, and like this ties in also with research, maybe really like a topic, and there's so many different ways to get involved with that. And most importantly, all this ties back into careers, which is, why we're all getting, our degrees, to get a job and be successful. And that's something that Clemson to me has proven time and time again, when I was going through the co-op program, I didn't get some offers from the first few companies I, was initially like pretty hyped with, but, I stuck with it with my advisor, and the next thing I know, I get an offer from a great company, and, I'm about to finish up my rotation with them pretty shortly. And they also just like really helped me find some internships, with all of the programs coming in, companies coming in each year for the career fair. And so, Clemson just really goes out of the way and does a spectacular job of just making sure I have a great time on campus while also making sure that I'm going to have, a way to show my success after I graduate. And I'll pass it on to Morgan back again to kind of give her thoughts on it, everything.
Yeah, so I know I talked a lot about the Clemson family right before this, but also one of my favorite things about Clemson are the Clemson sunsets, as you can see in my background, but also the people. The people at Clemson really are what make Clemson as amazing as it is. Not just your friends and other undergraduates, though they are phenomenal, but also the faculty. I have a professor who really has pushed me to pursue opportunities like working at Oak Ridge National Lab that I never would have thought possible. And like that's just like one of the small things that I've gotten to experience, was really just being pushed, being challenged to pursue opportunities that are bigger than I would have ever thought I could achieve. And so the Clemson faculty, the Clemson family, even the students will all push you to be a better student, but also be a better person. I have a friend he's a math major, and he would constantly take like 2 hours of his time to help me with my math homework freshman year. And that's just the kind of culture that Clemson has, and that we foster and continue to grow here at our university. Kayla, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, like Morgan said, Clemson really does a great job of fostering collaboration. We're competitive, but not in the sense that you don't want someone else to do as well. We're competitive in the sense that we want everyone to do their very best. So people are always so willing to help. I know that I've seen people who looked a little lost on campus, and I've been more than happy to help them out, help them get where they're going. And I know people have done the same for me and for my friends. And it's really just a great environment of people who are constantly building each other up. None of my friends really went to Clemson when I graduated high school, and none of my family had gone to Clemson. And I was kind of nervous. I didn't have anybody really to go start college with. And I joined the Presbyterian Student Association my freshman year. And from the time that I walked in the door, it was like I'd been there for years. And really all of Clemson is like that. I have friends that kind of just sat down next to me in calc freshman year and started talking, and we've been friends since then. Or people you have seen a couple times, and then they just start showing up in every class. You're like, okay, well, I guess you're in mechanical engineering, and I guess we're friends now. And it's just really easy to get involved, and everyone is there to help you. No one is there to compete with you. And like Morgan said, the Clemson family is a huge deal to me. It's really what drew me to Clemson in the first place. It just felt like home. And it also extends far beyond the classroom. When I was at my internship in Virginia, one of the project managers found out that I was a student at Clemson in mechanical engineering. And he offered me a full tour of his facility, just me. And the entire time he was talking about, oh, is this professor still there? Have you taken this class? And it was just a great way to network really easily based on the shared experience that we had. So the Clemson family will open doors to you that you never thought possible. And it's just a really great group to be a part of. So with that, I'm going to kind of close this out here. As you can see, these are the things that we touched on during our presentation. We've talked a lot about the careers that you can go into and how Clemson helps to prepare you for those careers, as well as how the department shapes you into a really marketable engineer. And also, we've all shared our experiences about what makes Clemson so unique. So I encourage you, if you have any questions, please visit our website And we'll be posting information soon about an email that you can use to get in touch with any of us if you have some specific questions. So thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.